Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Unquestioned Podcast
With
Debaere and Willem Himpe. We are back at it again.
Willem,
man,
can you still
Louis,
stand? Tell me.
if I can still stand, listen, I could say all the same thing. It looks like you're a floating head with your red sweater with your red stout. No.
Why am I asking that? Tell people what you've been up to for the second time.
The second time I had a concussion, and then I decided to do a second time 100-kilometer ultra marathon with Follow the Coast. Yes, people.
100-kilometer walking.
No. Well, the funny thing was this time I did do, let's say, the first 15 kilometers walking, and then the rest of the remaining 85 was let's say pure torture. And the reason for the listeners why I did that is the first time I did it completely by myself, and I was quite healthy. But the second time I had an irritated IT band. Basically, it's a knee injury. But I have, let's say, I don't like saying I can't do that, so we're just gonna push through the pain. And I started a bit earlier so I could finish together with my cousin. But long story short, I started running or walking at 4:00 in the morning, and then around 40 kilometer I joined together with my cousin, and then we finished together strong around 10:30 in the evening, like I think 16 hours of running. But I would not recommend it, but I just kind of restated that anything is possible that you put your mind to, and if you believe it, you can achieve it. That's kind of my inspirational talk for this.
I kind of have to if you say so.
Yes.
I still believe you're a machine when it comes to that. Congratulations on your second 100-kilometer run.
Thank you.
You can retire now.
Yeah, but I don't do it like the 100 kilometers. It's the reason why I do it, and I'll probably do more of these extreme things if my body allows it, because it's like an amazing feeling if you go past the 40%. And the 40% rule is kind of what David Goggins and all of, let's say, very strong men that do extreme things, they say, like, at a certain, and for example as well in the army, after 40% your body or your mind says like, oh, you can't do anything anymore, you need to rest, you need to stop. And if you literally mind over body push through there, suddenly you have a burst of energy and you can push further, and then multiple, let's say, layers or multiple times that rises again, and you keep pushing through, and it's an amazing feeling. Okay, afterwards you're completely dead because your body needs to recover, but it's replicatable in anything in life. If you have a business, if you have a family, if you have a child, if you really feel like I can't do it anymore, there's always another level of like, no, I can push through. I find a new way, a new market, and yeah, it never stops. And that's kind of what I find amazing about ultramarathon and life. There's a very nice analogy to it.
Yeah, I wanted to bring it to that. Wouldn't it be nice if success in business was about climbing a mountain like that, like physical? You'd already be at the top. If it was purely about an achievement or enduring physical pain, I think you'd already be exactly where you want to be in business, because I know you have a lot of ambition there, but there's different types of pain, I guess. There's also
correct, and that's a pain I am starting to understand, and that is consistency over intensity. I might have already mentioned it in the podcast. Is like what it is one day is like extreme intensity, is like really pushing through it, not giving up.
More acute than that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, but it's like what really like maybe transcends is that you would do it day by day, and that's kind of how life is. You're not gonna have an amazing family or have become the best father or have an amazing business if you do one day reach out to 100 or let's say 1,000 people to try selling your product. No, it's day by day, getting a bit better, and one of my early mentors who is probably the one and have the fourth or fifth unicorn of Belgium. He told me, and I even always have it on my notebook. It's funny that it's here. It's like you don't need
Hmm.
more intensity. So you don't need more intensity. You need more consistency. Intensity impresses, consistency transforms. Sorry. So it's consistency that really transforms you. Intensity really impresses people. If you can, for example, do something really intense that is like, whoa, this person really means what he's doing, but it doesn't really transform things. It's you need to consistent to move up in life, and that's what I feel like is what every successful individual says. Consistency is key. So
Well,
yeah.
we're gonna keep mentioning it. Not bad to repeat a lesson on consistency, of course.
Yes, but we're not here to talk about.
No, we're gonna talk about a different pain.
Yes, and also a bit of a mental pain. And the topic of this episode is the courage to be disliked as a person, as a nation, as a community, as people. So maybe I would love to hear from you, Louis. What is the first your thought of why is the courage to be disliked really important?
Yes, the biggest distinction between people that I can see there is America versus Europe. And it's quite interesting to see that we live very similar lives. Sometimes, sorry about that. Sometimes, when we talk about the West, then the United States and Western Europe are mentioned in the same breath. But culturally, that's the key. Culturally, we are quite different. And the reason that I think the United States will keep kind of dictating the course of the world is because they care less about stability and what people think of them. And they have the courage to be disliked. Right now, the rules of what it means to have a working business and a working nation are being rewritten thanks to technology. We've got AI and also crypto that are going to change a lot of things. But Europe is just standing idly by, literally on the sideline, looking at things, more focused on regulation, on safety. We see that when it comes to self-driving cars. We see it with not monetary policy per se, but like slow adoption.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and America is ready to just break every norm. It seems like maybe a little bit too much, but that's the reason that when the dust settles, when the storm is over, when we have a new world order, even though they used to be on top, they're still going to be on top because they're not afraid to throw things away that have worked. They're literally saying, we used to be in charge and we're going to remain in charge by not really caring what others think. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yes, so I would fully agree with that assessment. But basically, what I would say as well is that you have the innovator's dilemma a little bit, which Europe, they refined life or defined life, how to live, have a very strong social net. So if you lose your job, don't worry, we'll pay your bills. Plus as well a culture that is sometimes a little bit negative towards entrepreneurs. It's like don't do too special, or if you go bankrupt and fail in business, you're a failure. Where in
Hmm.
America, it's a little bit the opposite. Is you go bankrupt and say like, oh my God, amazing, on to the next business.
Celebrated, yeah.
Yeah, you learn so much. Doesn't matter if you default on your bank loans, you can still get a new loan to try again. And where in Europe, the culture is more like, okay, you failed in a business, you must be a failure. So that is a completely different culture where courage is, or like people are constantly disliked, who sometimes take courage in doing things a different way. So that's and where America it's celebrated, and that's why America has been, in my opinion, constantly being the innovator of the world and still the number one largest economy in the world. And all
Yeah,
the
I
good
like
things
that
that
you
we
bring up
have.
the innovator's dilemma. Go ahead.
The only thing that the innovator's dilemma is like Europe was really strong in, let's say, in the Middle Ages and the years or century afterwards. And they've like as well with Greece, with the Roman Empire, we really did really well back then. But then we kind of, let's say, starting from the 1800s and the Industrial Revolution, then it was more England, and then step by step more and more America. They became the world power, and we did really well. But because we did so well in the past, an innovator's dilemma says is, should we as well risk everything to become the next leader and not work 9 to 5 and push ourselves to the limit, or should we just keep it the way we've always done it? And sad to say, but in Europe, I feel like it's still it's improving in the margins, but it's not. Let's say we don't take the risks like America, because why should we? Because that's the innovator's
It's not
dilemma.
in our DNA, and we are also somewhat right because due to our rich history, we have a lot of stability. I like that you bring up the innovator's dilemma. It's a concept from business. So just so everyone understands, let's say you have a hit product like the Walkman, the Sony Walkman. It works with cassettes or CDs, and then you see the iPod come along. Like, what do? Do you hold on to your cash cow, your working product, your winner? I think the best example is actually I don't remember the company, the camera. I think Kodak or something.
Mm-hmm.
They had these old school
Manual.
cameras. Yeah, and then the digital camera came along, and they had to kind of reinvent themselves because they knew that otherwise someone else was going to take over. And it's interesting to see that we have America, which is becoming a declining empire. Some people, or a lot of people, would say that their best days are
America.
behind them. America, yes,
Mm-hmm.
a declining empire because their best days were behind them. Not that they don't have it good today, but yeah, they were at their peak. We could debate this a few 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
Around the
That's
internet
when they were at
bubble.
the height of their power, or even in the 1900s already. And now they're faced with a tough choice. Are we gonna do nothing or rest on our laurels like the Roman Empire and just fade away? Because the dollar being the reserve currency is like a really powerful tool there. But that's also why it's in their best interest to kind of push ahead and collapse the current world order. Because if they have the most to lose, by definition, then they can do whatever they can to try to be on top in the next world order, in the next structuring, organizing of the West. So maybe it's not going to be the dollar, but they sure as hell want to own whatever is going to be the next reserve currency and be ready for the new industrial development.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking, I was as well giving a more recent example that I also want to give of the innovator's dilemma as Google, for example, where search has always been done via them, and they have gotten a monopoly over it. And then now with ChatGPT, probably most of our listeners are people that love using technology, use a lot more ChatGPT to search things, to find things out. So that is kind of, and the funny thing is they created it with the technology of Google, but Google is now lagging behind, just because the innovator's dilemma. Why would we reinvent search if it's always been working for so many decades? I love that what you actually said about the country America, and one country actually that is maybe a little bit overlooked that we haven't discussed. I really love country. Reason why, because I was going to go on Erasmus over there, but also has its goods and its downs. And the little elephant in the room, or the big elephant, is China. So
China.
maybe let's start off there. Why do you think? Because the reason why I in the past thought China was going to be the number one economy in the world, due to reading this book, China's New Normal, where they explain kind of the data of, first of all, China has 3 or 4 times bigger population than America. They have between 6 to 10 times more engineers that graduate, or STEM students that graduated with a STEM degree. Plus, as well, when you see innovation, China is really fast in copying Western technology and immediately implementing it into everyday life. An example is WeChat, these super apps that you can do anything with in your life. But the thing is, here in this book, they say it's really going to be the number one economy in the world. But I truly believe a little bit that is not going to be the case, because America, okay, they have a bit of innovators dilemma, but they still have something unique, and that's the freedom and the kind of the culture of a courage to be disliked, or being disliked is a good thing. And as well, when we look at all the recent innovations that has made our life better, like ChatGPT, which is backed with a large language model, for example, quantum computing. Another thing is chips, like the GPUs, NVIDIA, that kind of fuels the whole AI revolution. These are all American companies with American innovators in them, or even sometimes, let's say, international, but they come to America to build that. So that is kind of, I feel like, even if you have 10x more engineers, you only need one, let's say, Sam Altman, one Steve Jobs, to really make your economy, let's say, exponentially grow in comparison to others. And I would love to hear your point of view. Sorry, I took a bit a bit of time of a little rant, but I'm quite passionate about this topic, and I'm looking forward to how it evolves with China and the US.
China will be ahead of us if the world doesn't change. And what that book does is extrapolate linearly from where we are now. Meaning, we talk sometimes about the 0 to 1 stage, the invention stage of a company. Well, going from 10 to 20, that's something that ChatGPT can do. That's something that China can do really well, is follow and copy. And not that there's not real, I would even call it innovation in there, because making things cheaper is what helps us the most. However, going against the grain and questioning things, doing whatever that it is that you want, even if it looks like play or it doesn't make sense at first, that is what America and uniquely does well, and Europe as well, due to our freedom. We innovate a little bit more when it comes to taste and culture. So we will invent, like, a lot of startups here are about food and beverages.
Or
If you think
designing a
about it,
good
yeah, or
experience and stuff.
design. And design is it's the art. Is also very great. It's what makes you want to just live to the fullest. So if I have a nice piece of furniture or a lamp here, that is worth something. And it's not that China doesn't have culture or doesn't have good design. Japan is also a real innovator in the East. But I like the analogy that my friend Don, who's a true digital nomad before that even existed. He's lived all around the world, been to 100 countries. And I asked him, I said, like, do you think those cultural differences are still there? And he says, definitely. The
Hmm.
US is behind the wheel. So if you make the analogy of a car, the US is still behind the wheel. The US is saying the direction we're gonna go in. And then in the car, you have the US and Europe. Europe is saying it is being a little bit snobby and is saying, "Oh yeah, I want to do this, in a different way with a bit more taste, and I want to refine things." And
Well, I
I
want to make it
care.
secure because
Yeah, yeah, oh
we
yeah,
don't want
yeah,
to.
yeah.
We want to
I want
protect
to
what we've
refine it.
built up or what we've created, and we don't want innovation to
I
ruin
care
it.
about the process. So does China, and China is like, whatever it is we see, we will bring it to our people. But let's not forget the reason that China is so effective industrially, and it should worry us, is that they build a train station in like a week's time. They're building all these fast trains. Like they're taking a concept and bringing it to 11. So if fast trains exist, they're gonna make the best fast train, or maybe the fastest fast train, but they're not gonna invent
A
a
new
helicopter,
train.
for
Yeah.
example. So they're only gonna make a faster horse, and that is because they lack the freedom. So they're very effective, just like Russia, because it's more of an authoritarian regime where you go like have a hierarchy straight down, and no press that informs people and pushes back. Is that if you live in a rural area, you've had your house for hundreds of years, and China says we'd like to build a factory here, you're not gonna be able to push back or say anything. Like they're gonna be like, get out of the way. And in Europe, we do have something called onttekening. It is possible that the state tells you you can no longer live here, or in America as well, they can try to buy your property for a market price, but there is a lot more freedom and there is a lot more questioning. India as well. Modi may be a good president, but
Uh-huh.
the newspaper will write what he wants. They won't they're not going to be same thing in Saudi Arabia. If you're not
Uh-huh.
saying what they want you to say, they're going to throw you out of your apartment window.
You have 0% tax, but you still don't have the full freedom.
Well, you have a tax on being yourself. You have to censor yourself. And I think in Europe, we have to, in order to catch up with China, we need to find a way to both have our freedom, because it's essential, it's sacred, and our property rights. And freedom is very broad. Is also, if I don't want to get this COVID shot, no need. Like in China, you stood there at gunpoint, for example, for that. And so we need to be able to say we want these freedoms because they are essential, and we want to be able to move fast. So we don't want to be beholden to regulation and like too many voices creeping up and saying, "Oh, we need to look at the environment," for example. And America achieves like a lot of building just because they are so much the Wild West there, but then they have less social security too.
Well,
So
that's I'm glad you bring it up. There's one experiment actually, and I'm gonna connect it to real people. It's like a mouse experiment where you let it run on a wheel with like the smell of cheese in front of it, which is ran at a certain speed. But then when you take the same mouse or rat and you let him have the smell of a cat behind him, and he runs like twice as fast. And that is why am I saying that, and why does it connect to social security? There's not a massive social net or social security where if anything happens, you'll be fine. Like Europe is the best. We have free healthcare almost in most of the countries.
universities,
Universities that you can study for free. So where America, that's not. If you really like, if your business goes out of business, or if you have a certain illness, you're really almost like financially ruined in some cases. So that is really an example of the cat smell that's always behind you, where you really have to start running faster and make your innovation or make your company or your life work. And where Europe, it is less that way. We are pushed, and we can maybe increase subsidies, remove regulations, so we can innovate more and create better companies. But there's still always kind of a sense of security, why we won't have to do a whole week of all-nighters to make something work, because otherwise you won't have food on the table. No, those things are not in Europe. as, let's say, common as in America, where in America that
Yeah,
is the
you're
case.
forced to go all in the US.
Correct.
It's if you don't like make sure that you have 10x the amount that you need, you know you might not make it, so you just have to really go for it. There's no way back, and that's good. But then for the people that want a European lifestyle, and they exist, there's a lot of them in the United States. Yeah, they have it worse off on the average case, and then there's like ambitious people here in Europe that feel like they're limited in what they can do.
Yeah. Plus also the people around. If you want to start a company, it's easier to hire in America people that as well are really pushing, willing to have the courage to be disliked. And where in Europe, it's a lot harder to find these people that have courage to be disliked. So that's what and I want to go back maybe to the 100-kilometer race. Like if you run a 100-kilometer race and every kilometer there's a person there like, oh, don't worry, you don't need to run. You can just here get into the van, or it's like that is not a good environment. It's the environment where you push because you need to get to the finish line of 100 kilometers. It doesn't matter if you or have a broken leg, you have to keep pushing. That is a good environment to achieve. Like to feel obligated to achieve that goal. So there's some connection, or let's say,
Yeah, you have to go all in. Shout out to our the podcast that we kind of mimic a little bit. It's also one of the things that brought us together. You have to go all in, and culturally, I would say, if somebody tells you that, oh, you're being stupid or you're being racist for doing something, in Europe, people might say, yeah, maybe the people are right. Maybe I'll just fall in line. In China, because I have to. In Europe, because I want to or need to socially.
or feel
And in
like to,
America, sorry?
no, I say like feel like to, because
Yeah,
socially,
yeah, feel like, yeah. And in America, it's like, well, if I'm already stupid and racist, then I'm just gonna do whatever I want. And that is what happened with Trump voters. Oh, you're gonna label me like that? Well, if I'm already racist, might as well just go all out. That is what happened to Elon Musk. And yeah, here in Europe, we care a little bit more, about fitting in and about doing things right, because we can afford to. It's simple as that.
yeah, it's a complex, let's say,
We can afford
space, but
to judge America and be like, oh, we have higher moral standards, even though we might not be in the same place in 50 years. So yeah, I'm just fascinated by also the reason why people move. And like in Europe, when we will change things is because we have to. We have no other choice in order to move on. And in America, it's because they want to. The ultimate expression of freedom. Trump and Musk have it really well already. They are creating this circus. They're breaking things. Why? Because they want to. They probably couldn't live. That they're already rich and famous, but they couldn't live without truly being free. And they said, you know what? I want the world to change. I want to live like this. And in Europe, we look at that and we're like, well, not today. We'll probably adapt in your image when we have to, when we have no other choice, when we're forced to.
yeah. Okay. Well, I think this was an amazing episode, and definitely I would recommend all the listeners have the courage to be disliked, although maybe your environment doesn't allow it. I've as well struggled with it while building my company, but every time if I've done something meaningful or where I'm proud of, I really had the courage to be disliked and to go all in. So perfect. Well, thank you so much for listening, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of the Unquestioned Podcast with Debaere and Willem Himpe. See you soon. Bye-bye.